Hey there, welcome to Ben's Eco Adventure. Today we're going to hit the road and we're going to talk about what it's like road tripping an EV that has CCS charging in 2023. Stay tuned. We're at Electrify America here at Harper Station near Cincinnati, Ohio. And we're getting a charge with Electrify America. I am able to get it to work today. So if you are out with your CCS EV right now in 2023, Electrify America is kind of the only game in town. And their network is fairly extensive, but there always seems to be some issues. You're usually able to get a charge one way or the other, but I wouldn't say it's particularly user-friendly to novices, to people who aren't tech savvy. I have never been able to get the app to actually activate the charge. I can activate it using the credit card or if I tap my phone, but the swipe to charge never works. And I've called tech support, they've never been able to figure that out. That's kind of frustrating. The other confusing thing is the credit cards say you can tap your card, but that part doesn't work. You actually have to put your card in the reader, use the chip, or slide it using the magnetic strip. So again, these are things that are fine if you can figure it out, but as a first-time user, you may not know, oh, that's what I need to do to get started. So that's kind of where Electrify America is at. You'll probably get a charge. You're not going to be stranded. Sometimes the chargers are slow. If your car can accept, let's say 150 kilowatts, some chargers might only deliver 40 due to various issues. With the Bolt, I'm only able to accept up to 55 kilowatts. So usually I don't encounter derated charges, but with most other EVs, that's a significant possibility that you'll see. Now I am making a huge faux pas here. Can you see what it is? Right there. I am charging my car at the CHAdeMO station. All the dispensers here, except for this one, have CCS handles. There's one CHAdeMO. So if a Nissan Leaf rolls up and I'm here, they can't charge. And that's not an ideal situation. So make sure you're looking, seeing if you can charge at one of the CCS only stations. That's what you should do first before you take up the CHAdeMO spot. Nobody's here today, but I just figured I'd point that out. And here we are with problems. As right after I finished filming the last video, suddenly the charging station just stopped. I didn't touch it, I didn't do anything, and it just stopped. It says, please unplug. So yeah, that's kind of frustrating. All right, we just tried charger 2 and I activated, I heard it start to spool up, get ready, and it stopped after 5 seconds. So very frustrating. So I just discovered that the problems we're having here might still be user error. One of the things the Bolt has is a charge limit, and right now I have it set to 80%. I think that also applies to DC Fast Charging. So let's put that up at 100% and see if it will work. All right, so there we go. It was user error, the reason why the charging stations wouldn't activate. And who do we blame that on? Blame it on the user? Blame it on the design of the car? The way the charging stations work? I don't know. But I'm been driving EVs for 6 years now, and I just made that mistake. And so I don't know, for somebody who's new to it, again, not a great thing. We're starting to get a busy station now. We had a Mustang Mach-E pull up, and we've got 2 BMW iXs. So starting to get busy. If there were a line here and people were waiting on me, that'd be pretty frustrating for both me and for everybody else behind me. So yeah, here we are, the reality of Electrify America. It works if you know what you're doing. Now join me at the EVgo here in Fairfield, Ohio. If you are out and you have a choice between Electrify America and EVgo, I'll take EVgo 10 times out of 10. The system overall is much more reliable, particularly these new stations. Come with me over here. If you notice on the station here, it says Ultium. So this is a partnership between EVgo and General Motors. And they are doing a lot to make sure these stations are working, that they're up, that they're accurate when it says whether it's available or not on the app. And they have what's really a killer feature here. So if you'll notice, the car just started charging. All I did was I came up here and I just plugged in. I have a feature called auto charge enabled, and that is amazing. Just to be able to come in, not mess with the app, not mess with your phone, and plug in, and we're getting power. It works great. So EVgo tends to be a little bit more expensive than Electrify America, but in my experience, look for this. It is much, much better. Here in Ohio, we've got, I think, around 20 new EVgo stations rolling out. I think a partnership with Pilot and Flying J. So these are going to be much more prolific here over the next year, and I will always choose them over Electrify America. So while we're at this EVgo station, let's talk a little bit about the future, which is right over here. So come with me. As you may be aware, soon many conventional CCS EVs are going to have access to the Tesla Supercharger network. And there's been a lot of press about that, some good, some bad. And I think it's going to be a complicated situation. It's not going to be, we all get CCS access, everything's great, charging is solved. I think we're still going to have issues with compatibility sometimes. These stations can get busy. This one isn't too busy, but that happens in certain areas, particularly we've seen in like Las Vegas. That's been an issue. So Tesla Supercharging is coming in 2024, and I think it will help because it will help move the whole charging industry forward in making sure that the kind of issues we saw at Electrify America, just that can't continue. People just aren't going to go. So Electrify America is going to either have to improve their network or they're going to end up going out of business. And that's okay if we have another option. If we can all charge at superchargers, then, you know, that's kind of the way the market works. But this is coming. Adapters are hopefully coming for my Bolt as well as many other cars on the market today. So we'll just have to wait and see how this plays out. I'm hoping for the best. thoughts on road tripping your EV in 2023. I have to make a couple corrections or clarifications, I think, because I do all of these kind of off the cuff without a script. So when I was at Electrify America, there was the CHAdeMO station. That station has both CHAdeMO and CCS. You might not know that. The Bolt only charges on CCS, but just wanted to make that clear. In terms of Electrify America being the only game in town, I mean that insofar as if you want to travel coast to coast, Electrify America is basically the only option right now that can take you the whole way. There's lots of other charging networks, and I strongly encourage you to look into those, look into EVgo, look into ChargePoint. But as of right now, getting from one side of the country to the other is basically, if you don't have a Tesla, you do that on Electrify America. In terms of the 80% charging limit, that can be confusing again to first timers. So I'm going to put a link down in the description describing why you might want to charge your battery to only 80%, but why you don't need to worry about it too much, especially when you're on a road trip. So I really don't know why mine was set low when I'm out traveling. I don't remember setting it that low, but apparently it was, and that's something I need to watch for, and you should too. The trip you saw in this video is one I take pretty often to see family around Southwest Ohio, and it's always gone quite smoothly for me. There's lots of charging options, so that works fine. We've taken 2 other trips this year as a family, one from Ohio to Washington, D.C., and that went great, and a second from Ohio to northern Michigan, both in the Bolt, I should add. And on the trip back from Michigan, we encountered one charger at a dealership that just wouldn't work. It was on, seemed like it should work, but for whatever reason, it wouldn't authenticate. Fortunately, we were able to drive down the road to another charger, and other than a little time wasted, it wasn't a big deal. So that's one thing to know. If you're trying to cannonball, do 600, 700 miles a day, EV today is probably not the right car for you. But if you travel kind of at a reasonable pace, 400 or 500 miles a day, I think you'll find it works just fine. If you're thinking about buying an EV this year and you're not sure whether or not you should buy a Tesla or something else, what I'll tell you is that I think for most people who are in the market for an EV today, the CCS network works good enough. It's going to get better. It absolutely will. But I don't want to scare people away and say, well, you can't get where you need to go. You can. There's a little more frustration, as you saw, a little more confusion, but it is absolutely workable. And I would still recommend that you buy any EV you might like this year. Hey, listen, if this is your first time here, the kiddo has a reminder for you. Consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel. If you enjoyed this video, please also consider giving it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.